All right, all you devils out there, Sam here. Oh, it's the 17th here, Friday. It's about a little after 12:30 here. Oh, I'm a little behind schedule here. Been trading all morning, and really, Bitcoin hasn't done a whole lot. It hasn't moved much since last Friday. We were somewhere in here a week ago. I'm starting out here with my primary account. Nothing has happened to change this here. I am here on Motive Wave just because I have it teed up here. So you'll note here that we got this nice set of median lines here, which we've tagged here. So if indeed we're going to play out of this triangle, we'd be looking for one more leg down here into the CDE. I mean, technically, this is perfectly valid. So we've got our ABC down here. ABC into the B here. You'd be anticipating the ABC to bring us down here. Now, this I think will be telling here. If indeed that's the B, if the B is in, which is unknown, right? It could go higher. If that's in, well, we can. So one of the nice things about Motive Wave, it'll give you the high probability locations or projections based on historical ABCs. So the 1618 here, which would be the C relative to the A, right? So if the A is in, we're just projecting from the B to get us to C. This would be 618. Here's 100, and here would be 1618. Well, if this is going to go A, B, and we're going to come down to this C, we're going to need a pretty big rip here in the C to get down to this 1618 to maintain the geometry of the triangle. That's 35.1. I mean, that's a pretty good push. Something negative will have to happen in the space. Now, it could be some of the regulatory dialogue that's going on. I mean, just looking at it coming down, you can see all the structure that's going to have to break to get down to this. So to get to 35, there's going to need to be some sort of news-driven push to bring that down. But the count as it sits right here, if I highlight the triangle, again, I'm going with the 1618 because at this moment in time, that's all we have for the B. All right, we coming down this far. Well, we're going to have to break some pretty stiff resistance, right? We'd be breaking this pivot, all of that prior. It's all just potential, right? It's just potential support. Prior resistance, even here, right? We've yet to break here, the pivot here for the proposed one. A, B, C, we come down here. Now, also, we get some time benefits here, so so for example, I can just go to time analysis and say C versus A, or where are the common locations here? Well, this would put us at, kind of third week of October to get the 618 in time relative to the length of the A projected from the proposed B. So we've got the 382 and the 618. This kind of lines up nicely, but again, something substantial is going to happen in the market to bring that down. But as we sit right here, I mean, I think we were here a week ago. So nothing has happened to really cause that count to change. So I'm going to push that off to the side here. Now the market, certainly the sentiment in the market is bullish, right? The low is in, and we're just biding our time until we push and blow out those new highs. Those of you that are kind of keeping an eye on some of the developments in the on-chain metrics, you're seeing the repeated discussion of a supply shortage of Bitcoin, which makes sense, right? Hodlers are pulling it off exchanges, less supply, so potentially all the ingredients are there for price to kick out of here. Well, for that to happen, so we've looked at this enough. I'm assuming I don't have to spend a whole lot of time here. This is what we'd be after. But even still, if we've completed the first impulse, you're still looking for a retracement here to bring it down maybe closer towards this pivot here. Would put it at 41, 42-ish before that goes off to the 3 and beyond. Now, to get there, and again, we've looked at this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but to get there, we're making the assumption that we've gone into an expanded flat up here. So we do it A, B, and the nice 5 here we're going to use. Puts us right at the 38. We've got all of this, here, right, just bring it across. All of this support that's down here, so you have to get there. Well, I mean, if you're an Elliottician, right, you got to figure out how to get there. So A, B, C, well, it gets it done. And now we've got kind of an ugly but a valid impulse coming off of the low. So then again, right, even as I sit here looking at this, if this is complete up here, you'd anticipate something a little bit deeper. Now, maybe we're doing it like this, right? So we get down in here to some of this. I'm just kind of using the inside parallel since those have been markets responsive there. Then now we'd have a 1-2, right? So if you're you know, it's difficult, right? You have to maintain some discipline here, because if you're an Elliottician, we don't have the right ingredients here. Now, of course, you'll note here how we're pinging the median line here and just working within the inner channel here. Interesting, coming off of the low, how that geometry continues to play. But it's still, either we're going to have a shallow 2, which, I mean, look how shallow we are here, right? So we certainly know Bitcoin is prone to doing that. We saw it all through prior bull runs, shallow 2s. It would be unusual, but again, you can kind of talk yourself into it. Okay, median lines there. We're going to look at the smaller time frames, the similarity between this consolidation and this consolidation. So you can kind of talk yourself into it. Personally, a little bit. I mean, it just makes me uncomfortable as a trader, having done this for a long time, to when the entire market sentiment is bullish. It makes me a little leery of it, right? So that just, again, that doesn't mean I'm not willing to adapt my count and change, but I'm not stubbornly. I'm not bearish, but I'm not. I don't see enough here to warrant adding to my positions here. It's not there yet. I thought perhaps this week we'd get a bit more reveal, but really all we did was just bounce around in a 2-3K range. We didn't really go anywhere. So we're sitting here. So there's no reason there would be great inconsistency if I was flipping bullish here, just because I read a little bit about some of the supply shortages. Now, that certainly may play itself out. So again, I'm not stubbornly, again, not so much, I'm not long-term bearish, but looking for I'm just looking for a better entry point at the end of the day. That's all I'm doing, right? I'm looking for a better entry. Right now, of course, in doing that, you position yourself to risk. I mean, if we kick out of here and over the weekend we're doing this, well, of course, I'm going to miss it. Well, I'm going to miss the add, right? My overall portfolio can be just fine, but I'm going to miss the opportunity to add here in this, this area of where it's, again, it's just not good enough for me. The setup is not good enough for me. That's just me personally, right? If you want to buy it, have at it, man. I'm here to give you my thoughts and kind of teach along the way if I can. And just that market sentiment has me a little bit cautious about being overly aggressive here. So with all that said, right, so we've looked at 2 counts. All right, let's go let's go over here, right? So this, and we've looked at this a little bit last week as well. Here, I got to put this back in the log. And the reason I do that is because we get these ideal pings off of the wolf range. So the initial range, the initial pivot range, 100, 200, here's the candidate for the 3. And you can see how that could easily just play itself out here. Now we've gone from this pivot up here. You see what we're doing here is we're breaking the market into, well, in this case, we've got thirds, right? First, third, second, third. If we're gonna go up, just kind of get that thing. If we're gonna go up and get it up here. Okay, well, can we get there? Is there a count that supports this? Well, it ain't pretty, but yeah, we can do it. And you can do it a couple of different ways. But this just note here what we're doing, how we are, well, essentially what I'm doing is I'm dividing the range from the pivot high to the pivot low into quarters, right? And you'll note how reactive the market has been to that very range. Now, again, if you're trying to duplicate this, you got to do it in log scale. And again, it's just the first pivot high, right? Before we start what would be the ABC. So it's the first swing, 100, 200. Those are within ticks of each other, but it sure is enticing to look up here and say, oh, well, if we got up here, what would be, right, setting up a double top. Now, of course, the thing that I know everybody on the planet that looks at charts of Bitcoin is acknowledging is how much this low is looking like this low, right? So as they say, markets don't necessarily repeat, but they often do rhyme. So this would be the perfect scenario for such a thing. You know where that's coming from. They look almost identical. And all the Wyckoff guys are saying, well, it's clearly, right, we've got a Wyckoff bottom here. Here's another Wyckoff bottom. So potentially, we didn't get a lower low here. But what you'll note here is that if we're looking at the two together, this low here, the truncation, seems a lot like that one. So again, right, there's nothing that says that the market must come down and put in a new low. Nothing says it must. But again, this is starting to look a lot like this and what followed, right? kind of a free fall down here. Now, if we got that's not necessarily bad news for bulls. Now, we're going to look at a couple of different ways we can count this. I think we looked at this a little bit last week here, but again, market hasn't moved much, so this will probably be a short video. But this and this, it's impossible to miss it. So the expectation would be, if we're stalling here, and we can kind of go in there a little bit more and say, okay, well, that sure looks familiar, right? I mean, it's damn near a replica. Is this going to be your spring? Right? It's not perfect Wyckoff, but it's not bad. Right? Ideally, you'd have one more swing down, right? Like we did here, right? Run all the stops, sweep the lows, and then crank it up. Get this out of here. All right. So with that said, so you look here and you go, well, phew, how do I count that? Well, it was just as difficult to count it over here. All right. It looks like the 3 goes here. Now again, if you're going to use, we don't have the full ingredients, and we don't have as nearly a good a 2 as we did here, right? So the 1, 2, right? And with that amount of time that it took into that 2 to the 4, right? So that's why everybody wants to put that 5 in. And we looked at the alternate here that would get us into a completed A here, BC. We'd get the 3 that we need for a triangle to hold. But if this is going to play the same way, it would clean things up, right? So it's almost like I want it to go down so I can buy it, which sounds counterintuitive. But again, I'm a retracement trader. What we teach is retracement trading. So, that wouldn't surprise me if we did that, right? And you could just look at it and say, well, okay, if we rolled over again, going into the weekend, who knows, right? The weekend's a wild card, right? So the volatility and the volume dries up a little bit, so the market is more vulnerable to get pushed around. So if we were to come down into that structure, well, you could certainly understand how that might hold. I mean, it's pretty good structure coming off of this pivot, right? This pivot here, we got a low volume node. It's almost like right, you don't want to say, well, it's inevitable that it do it, but it's certainly, you could understand how this could be a magnet to the market. We're not there yet, and we have, what did we get here? I think it was a 50. If I pull here, no, we got through it. Oh, if I get right on this, I get right on my low here. We're in between. So I've got a algo target down here. Now, could we break that resistance to get to the algo target? It's nothing says these are inevitabilities here, but I would do it this way, and then I would put that into shift and say, interesting. All right, and then let's tee up the confluence as we can, right? And again, you just the point of doing this is we're not forecasting, right? That don't make that mistake. What we're doing is laying out a roadmap. So if it does this, I kind of can get in sync with what's happening here. Now, of course, the big difference between this bottom here and the bottom on the other side is we don't have that nice fat 1, 2 that we had before, right? We had that nice 2, right? That made that make more sense. Here, we just get the waterfall. And while, oh God, what am I on a 2 hour? Yeah, you can dig a 1, 2 there. Here's what I don't think just happened. This would be, well, abnormal. Right, so let me take that up so you can see it. That 2 relative to this 4, okay, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Doesn't look like a great finish here, right? So this, because we get this big kick up here and then we come back down. It's just kind of a sloppy bottom that okay, could be. But I think you're more inclined to be thinking, some sort of a combination. It's a correction, but this is going to be your 2, right? You kind of want to connect all of this together rather than create this giant 4. And it looks like you'd have to do it. Come here. All right, so you'd have to go A, B, C, then A. Geez, this is really kind of wonky. B, C, before you finish it down here. All right, so already the count here is elusive. It's not, all right, I can see it clearly. Even some of this, right? This classic example, I guarantee 10 Elliotticians give you 10 counts there. Very difficult to get this in play. And it's not necessarily that all 10 would be wrong, right? I mean, 3 or 4 of them could be absolutely right. I mean, technically, there's nothing I'm going to look at here that's invalid. Well, I gotta catch myself here. I'm fairly certain there's nothing we're going to look at here that has any break of rules or guidelines here. But this is the 1, 2, 3, and then this is the 4 down to that 5. It just doesn't look right. So I'm actually I would prefer it to come down just so I can find a better location to be a buyer, right? If it's doing that, now let's put that in context. So let's just assume for the bull case that we've got, oh God, there's a couple of different ways we could do this. If we're going to go 1, right? So if it's an impulse, if it's going to be 1, we got to go A, B, C into the 2 here. It could be counted multiple ways. You've got an impulse here. You've got a very shallow, once again, right? So we're just talking about this, right? Can we have that shallow of a retracement? Actually, it would be over here. We're going to be that shallow? Well, Bitcoin's prone to it. Sorry, taking advantage of my mute button. I love this, right? Right in line with this. Oh, come here. Right in line with that. All right, come down and grab that algo target here. So now I can see the geometry. Now I've got a deeper retracement. All the bulls, they start to panic, right? Oh God, I was sure it was going to new highs. Now down it comes, right? A little fear gives it some acceleration. And we'd come right into all the structure. You see, be right on the edge here of the volume profile here of all of this market structure that was all in here, all the market fat. Well, you can even do this. All the market fat and happy, fat and happy. All right, let's bring it back down here. All right, I mean, could go this low, right? Then we'd be more in line with what we were just looking at. If we're going to go down into something like this here, where we're going to get down to that lower structure. Now we're back at 35. Now you're back over here thinking, 35. Hey, well here's 35 right here. Right, so we're coming back into this structure. That's the 1618. So then the triangle starts to be more likely what you'd anticipate coming out of that, right? So we don't have it yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. For the bulls, well, already you've got this difficult finish up here because this is tricky. But if it's 1, 2, 3, pardon me, Jesus Christ, I got to do it this way. Even I'm getting confused here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that completes the impulse. Now I know you want to put it up here, but it's really an ugly finish, and it could be, right? Could be that's how we've got to do it, and you just got to make do with what you've got here. The alternate is that you complete the 5 here, so because there's a nice 5 here. You got a 5. Oh, shit, it ain't grade 3, but you got a 5, 3, 5 here into an ABC. Oh shit, here into an ABC, and I think one of you guys brought this to my attention last week here that I had this still sitting over here. So it's ABC over here, and then you got to go up there and you got to get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you got, well, pardon me. So if we're doing it this way, the 5 is in, we'd go A. So A, B, C into the A, and then we'd have to go, Jesus, I know you probably can't see that. We'd have to go do it this way. So if this is so you look at it and you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's your 3. There's the little 3 that's in your 4, and that's your 5, right? So you've got an impulse here, right? So either it's 1, 2, and you got to make the 3, 4 here, or you got to put it here, and then you're going into a truncation, an expansion. You're getting an A, B, and a C to give me this A, and then I'm going A, B, C to give me that. All right, so I can expand the B wave here, and then we come down. Now, this is for bulls that want this to be the low, right? So, A, B, C. Well, it looks just like the last one. We're just going to truncate that 5th, and this is a 1, 2. Well, even if that's the case, right? If it is a 1, 2, here, let me hide that because I'll probably bring that back, right? If that's the case, right? So you want to say, okay, the C's in. Well, it could be here. Oh shit, it'd have to be here, right? You can't start it with that. Well, shit, I shouldn't say that, because it looks a lot like the other one. Oh, God, could we do it? Here, come here. We'd have to do it A, B. We'd have to do it WXY, because you can't. This is such a cluster here, because you've got that pump and the dump right there that your count gets a bit blown up here. Let's just go with it here, right? So we'd have to truncate here, so you're kind of stuck with this mess, which is why I don't love it enough. But even if you were saying it was here and you were going to try and do it like we did the other one, where you went, okay, it's A or 1, 2, or A, B, or 1, 2, and this is just the 1 and the 2, and we're going to keep going. Do you see how you kind of find yourself going, I can't quite get a decent count here? So my view always, right, is when in doubt, you don't. In my case, right, it's not stay out. It's just I'm not adding. I just don't like it enough, right? I don't need to force a trade here, and neither do you, right? It's forcing the trade because of FOMO that almost always leads to poor trading decisions, right? It becomes emotional, or your ego's involved. Oh, everything I've read says Bitcoin's going up. Every time I get on Twitter, I see new projections for 100K before the end of the year. I know this thing's going up. Well, if you're willing to, what Michael Saylor just bought, I don't know how many billions of Bitcoin to add to his corporate holdings, and he doesn't give a shit about any of this, right? He's just saying, well, if it's below 50, I'm a buyer. If you have the long-term time horizon to where you don't really care if it, goes from 48 to 40 or 30, if you don't care really because you're playing long ball, I mean, you could certainly rationalize that. Well, anything below 50 is going to be a great buy 3 years from now. I'm not suggesting otherwise, and it may very well be. I'm just trying to be more precise about where I'm adding next, right? I'm plenty long. I'm just saying, okay, well, if I'm going to use the skill set that I've spent 30 years developing, well, I'm looking for something deeper rather than just, fuck it, right? I'll just buy it. That's just not how I approach the market. So I think we all kind of are kind of, there's a bit of a, deer in headlights here. You bulls want to see some impulsive action. We're not getting it. Bears are kind of being influenced by the media, by the on-chain metrics, which are not to be discounted, right? So I'm not saying that there's not a potential shortage of supply of Bitcoin, right? So that's not what I'm trying to imply, and I'm not saying you should ignore that. But at the end of the day, price is truth, right? That's the reality of it. We can talk about all the reasons that go into it, but this is your reality at any moment in time. Price is absolute truth. So does that look like a great start to a bull run? Well, it doesn't, right? Now you could say, well, hey, it's just basing. It's just building the base here, and from this, right, you've got all that horsepower. So you can think of this it's idling. It's just idling here, but it's about to blow off. Okay, all right, maybe, but if it is, I mean, if you're buying it here, technically, what are you trading off of? Okay, well, maybe there's some structure here. Oh, well, I'm at the Vegas wave here on a 2-hour. I'm at the Vegas wave. Oh, okay. All right, maybe that's enough. Well, okay, maybe I don't care if it comes down here to 42. I mean, for me, I don't really care if it goes up again, because sooner or later, I'm going to get a 3, right? And I don't really have one now. So if this is, even that doesn't even work here. So the first thing, right, for bulls, right, you're going to have to clear the golden zone. Clear that. Okay, now this starts to get more interesting, but boy, is that an ugly, even trying to do it like we did it over there where you went 1, 2, doesn't look like much of a 3. So your best case is that's 1, 2 of the 3, 4, 5 that's coming. Okay, you could probably talk yourself into that based off of what happened over here, based off of this mess. Let's get that down on there. And that, I thought I had that locked. Okay. Oh, shit. Here. No, I need it locked. Hang on. Let's get that tight, because these things matter. Let's get that right on the pivot. Okay, let's lock it up now. Okay, so as we sit here hovering on the edge of the median lines, so you could even still then talk yourself, hey, well, we're not breaking out of the median lines. But that's what you'd have to be working with. If you're an Elliottician, you'd have to be thinking somehow, right, this just fucks you up, man. It just fucks the count up. What do you do with that? You're going to go A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, A, B. Oh, you can't even do that. A, B, C, D, E. Right? It's not much of a triangle. You're just stuck in a box down here. So I keep coming back to, I wouldn't trade that. I don't care what the asset is. It would make no difference to me what I was looking at, Bitcoin or anything. That's not a setup that I would pull the trigger on. Get me a little deeper, right? Even the secondary pivot, right? So here, I mean, you'd have to check both, right? If one breaks, you'd have to go back one. But if this is some sort of a hideous 1-2, which I don't think it is, but if it is, if this is 1, 2, and this, it can't be 3, so it'd have to be 1. So you can get an, oh shit, looks like you could do it, right? So it looks like you can get an impulse in there. So it looks like you could go 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like you have to do it here and then go A, B, C, or Jesus, right? I mean, it's just ugly, 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 ugly. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if I can get that, all right, let me get this out of here. All right, so if that's going to be my 1, and is it here? Okay, there's A, B, C. So that'd probably be W, X, A, B, C. So even still, bring it down a little bit. So somewhere in here looks a little more interesting to me. Now here, again, you're buying at the 38, but okay, so you could lean into the idea, all right, I got the median line, or pardon me, I've got the lower parallel of the median line there, right? So coming off of this, all right, so maybe I can get a 2 down here. Okay, well, all right, how could we frame that? We could do it this way. Right, if I'm going to get something here, maybe I get a 50, maybe I get a golden zone here. We got a little high volume node here. So if I get that, all right, well, now there's a trade that I can look at and say, well, again, I don't care what the asset is. I know that's a technical setup that has high probability of being successful, right? With relatively low risk, right? So does it ping here at the golden zone, run into an algo there? Could. If it breaks it, we get to the median line, right? Pings there. Well, it's not going to be 1, 2 or 1, 2. If it's 1, 2, 1, 2, well, that's not going to be 3, right? 3 is going to be way up here, right? So maybe we get it out here. Now we're into the end of the month, right? So I'm on a 30-minute, so we could be here by 24th. But you see how it's just, I mean, again, this is just me. I will wait for that, knowing that I'm going to risk the thing taking off over the weekend. I want to see it come down. Then I like the risk-reward scenario better. And I'd have a first target would be the median line, right? Because if we get here, I got a golden corner. Stop under the pivot. Depending on your risk tolerance here, this wouldn't be bad. Because remember, if we're gonna do something very similar to the other low, we'd anticipate a break of that pivot, which would bring us back down here. Now we'd have this algo that's right here, that's already in play, right? That's already reacted, going for its target down here, right? And by the way, right, as I tell you, that's all the other market ever does. All right, so we're kind of just stuck here, right? A little bit of okay, we got to wait and see. So here comes the market dropping off a little bit. All right, does that help? Well, okay. I mean, we could lean into it a little bit more the deeper it goes. So, right, we might get this here. Whatever's happening, I mean, that's a pretty good move. But we just go from we just went about $1,000 right there. We did. We went from 47.7 to 46.7. So there's $1,000 just coming off out of nowhere. That makes me think the market's probably challenging their lows. Now, WXY. Come down here. Well, again, here we just drew it up. Here's all the structure. Now that would be a 38. If that's the pivot low, if we're going to use this is going to be the 1, 2. Okay, well, then that looks interesting. I'd take that trade. Right? I get something like that. Okay. Maybe we got to live with the truncation, right? Again, Elliott's not perfect. Maybe we're back here going, oh shit, 1, 2, 3. You damn near have to put the 4 here, right? So and then truncate the 5, right? So you don't want to put any substantial money at risk when you're going, okay, so I'm going to have to truncate twice in a row. I've got a hideous count here that I don't even know what the hell I've got here. It's just sideways fuckery. And then I got a 5 here. I'm going to buy it now. When I mean, not much further, 45 is going to look pretty good. And if we're going to replicate, which, right? I mean, don't assume, right? So you got 2 tells. There's this golden zone, who's going to break here, and there's this golden zone. So really, at the end of the day, you could make a pretty strong case that all we're doing is we're just stuck in an algo box, right? One side's fighting the other. And until that resolves, and you get the tell from this side or this side, I don't think there's a trade here. I really don't. I mean, there's Jesus God, there's crypto, so it's all sorts of things that look fantastic. Oh God, I'm already at a half an hour. I was going to do a couple, but again, it's not here, man. It's just not here. There's not a trade here that's good enough. If you're disciplined about choosing your setups, right? It's just not, right? Is that what did we got? All right, so Jesus, I think I've labored that point enough. Did I get everybody covered here? Yeah, we looked at that one. We looked at this one. Oh, I thought all right, I'm going to do two little bonus ones here because I talked for 30 minutes and didn't say much. All right, so really, there's not much change here. So I'm going to give you two here just as a bonus here that I've been watching pretty closely here. These all came from live streams where members brought this to my attention. I liked what I saw, so now I'm watching them, which is I tell you guys at the start of every live stream, that's the reason to come to a live stream, whether you watch it in literally live or you watch the recording of it, because you got hundreds of people looking for these same setups. So if you're here watching, well, members, of course, you know what's going on, but if you're a sub and you're watching, I mean, I'm sure you deal with the same thing, right? So many assets to trade. How do you catch all the setups, right? Well, this is having hundreds of additional eyes on the market looking for these kind of setups, which is part of the reason why we started doing it that way and sharing it with our YouTube subs. So here's Ripple, right? Which I'm a bull. I've got a decent sized bag here. I would call it a medium sized luggage, right? I don't have a huge trunk full, but there's a beautiful leading diag that gets us off this low here. I mean, that's the COVID low, right? So we get a nice, I mean, just textbook, right? 3 longer than 1, 5 longer than 3, just a textbook. Now, this, if we come out of this here, if it's A, B, C, now here we get a cleaner finish, but you still have to start it the same way. So there's a beautiful ABC that's in here with all the subdivisions you look for, A, B, and then look at the beautiful 5 that brings it down. So that's what we're looking for. You'd hope to see right now. Here it gets a little easier. Now there's a little bit of a struggle in here. Oh, that's the daily. Let me go to the 8, because you're kind of stuck with that same problem here, and that you've got to go 1 A, B, C into the 2 if this is going to hold as an impulse. Which, I mean, we have an impulse here, but this could be counted differently, right? There could be some variation in this, but let's see, right? So again, you never know. Elliott's just a snapshot in time. So as we sit here looking at this. All right, so 5 in. Well, the alternate here is that you do it this way, right? That's the alternate, although this doesn't look like it's done. And you have the exact same pattern here. So all of crypto has done the waterfall, and now we're just basing, right? You want to see one more down, because you could get this 3 done. Oh, shit. You could get it done this way, right? So we'd go internal, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We could do it either way, and we're not going to know which one's right until it resolves, right? So either we get a deeper retracement here. Now this doesn't look like it'd be done, right? That's the same thing Bitcoin did, right? Free fall, right? Are we going to truncate? Are we going to get a deeper push lower? Well, if it's 3, you really don't want it to go lower, right? You want this to hold. So if I get that hot. Somewhere in here, right? You'd want to see some of this hold for it, because that being the A, B, right? So if this is going to pause here, note, right? Vegas wave, like here's the resistance here. So look, all the way up, right? So once we get on the other side of it, here's the resistance, oh, pardon me, support, breaks. Now it becomes the resistance, right? The Vegas wave is, I don't know why you would trade without it. So now, now we're underneath it, resistance, breaks. Now, note the flip happens right here. Now the 233 goes underneath. Now we're just banging right into potential support. So if we're going to get a kick in crypto, well, it'd be unusual if Ripple were to kick and Bitcoin were to sell off, right? So at this point in time, you're kind of, it's a tricky one, right? So because you can finish it either way. There is an internal impulse that gets this done. There's a 3 here, and there you can get it done here. So I go back and forth. I think this is equally as valid, but it's the same issue, right? If I could get down here and maybe I double bottom. It's the 1, 2 that's kind of the monkey in the wrench here as for all of crypto. If that's the 1 and that's the 2, well, here's the 2618. If I'm getting right on it, right on that. Here's the 2618. Just out of curiosity, it's going to be a mess coming out of log. So we get beyond the 2618, which is pretty extreme, but look how deep the 2 is, right? So you can understand why that would be the case. Now, what are we doing here? It certainly makes sense that all of it, I could just pull this all over, right, and include these pivots here even. Okay, we're coming into potential support. If it goes deeper, then you're back to thinking, okay, maybe we were done here, and this is the 2, and this is often the challenge of Elliott Wave, right? You don't really know until you see how deep these retracements are going to go. It does look like this is complete. 1, 2, 3, right? It's the same, very similar to what we're talking about in Bitcoin. 3, 4, can I get that last 5? Well, if I get this, you know, the other thing which most of you, I'm assuming, will be aware of, if Bitcoin stays range bound, that's not a bad thing because it lets alts free. It just leaves alts free to fly, right? So if Bitcoin is ripping, it'll pull things along with it, and you'll get some people saying, well, Bitcoin's too expensive, I can't buy that, so they'll go to the alts. But the ideal scenario is when we can kind of go sideways, which would play beautifully with the Bitcoin triangle. If we can just hold here between this range here of, oh, let's call it 35 and 55, which is a monster range, right? It's a 20K range, right? Remember back to 2017 when 20K was, oh my God, who could believe we were at 20K? Now we're talking about a wave 4 that's got a 20K range. If the triangle plays out, pay attention to alts, because that's going to be, I think, very, very interesting. So if this is going to go deeper, now if we get down here, I would relabel it, right? If we get below the 50 and we come down here, well, then I'm going to put the 3 here, the 5 here, and I'm just going to call this whole thing done here. And now I'm going deeper. I'm still looking to get on the buy side. I wouldn't be sad if that were the case. Oh shit, I want this. If I get this here, all right, if I get that, I sure would be interested in that. All right, now that's not going to be the 3. So if it's 1, 2, that's just going to be likely the 1, right, which is always the advantage we have here with the median lines. Probably put a sliding parallel. If we get something deeper, now we're going for the 3, right? So it's all there. All right, there's 36. I'll do one more here since we didn't. If anybody's still listening here. VeChain, again, another one from a member. Really, right? That's the advantage of these live streams here. Again, I hadn't looked at it in a while. Same kind of thing, right? So what do we have here? So you can look at this and say, certainly there's possibility here that we could go A, B, C, D, E, right? We could roll over again, get a triangle, but either way here, the anticipation is we'd be coming down, and then there's a push higher. So if we have to truncate again here, well, pardon me, yeah, we would, right? So we'd have, it's not quite a flat here. So the B's not high enough to call it a flat. So you're kind of stuck. 1, 2. You can get 5 into that. You're kind of stuck trying to finish the A here, which is why the triangle is still worth acknowledging. Now, look, that's to the tick. Now, over here, if I dial that in, we've got a very slight break, which is, do we have a break? Yeah, you can see it. It's just a couple of ticks. Now, the reaction that came off of it, if I get this right on it, you can see that little break. It's small, but it's enough, right? If you do it on your machine, right, you'll spot it. It could be stop run, right? I mean, there's pivots here. You can see these pivots here. It could be there's a little stop run there, a little shenanigans before they crank it down here. But that would suggest advantage bulls. So this algo here, any algo that's holding to the 65 is now just going to wait, right, for the next buy side. Right? And again, as I try and tell you guys, they don't care. They couldn't care less which side wins. Right? Because they'll just trade them until they get on the right side of it. So we've come down here. Now Vegas wave yet again. We're going to come a little bit lower. This looks like it's got potential. Right? Maybe there's a cleaner finish here, because you got the same problem here. Right? All of crypto's done the same thing. We had the waterfall. Now we're basing. It makes for just uncertainty, right? You're essentially you're rolling dice here. I mean, or roulette, right? Okay, I'll put my chips on red, or I'll put them on black. Well, don't forget about 00, right? It's not, you have no advantage here, I guess is what I'm saying. There's no pattern here that gives you any advantage. Really, it's not enough here. You can, well, shit, I suppose you'd have to do it the same way. You'd probably have to do A, B, C to get that to be finished, but that's not much of a 1. So the implication is that for all of crypto, it's not finished correcting. That's what I see. It feels like it's not done, and that we need to blow out all because all the those thinking that crypto's easy money are just thinking, oh, supply, Bitcoin's short in supply, man, it's going to be going higher. That's just the kind of thing that will drive it lower and then go higher, right? So you take out all the people chasing easy money, they get discouraged, they get blown out, they're over levered because they're thinking, man, everything I've read says there's no Bitcoin to get. So prices got to go higher. Down it goes. You scare the shit out of the sheep and then rip it higher, right? It happens every day in the markets. Now, would you buy, regardless of the asset, would you buy that? I wouldn't. I bring it down a little further. Now I can kind of go, or maybe I got a triangle B, and I got something down here, that looks like I can get my arms around it. All right, shit, I went 40 minutes there. Okay, guys, that's probably all I got to add here. There's not much to do with Bitcoin, so I thought I would just mix in a couple. These are just crypto that I'm watching here. Looks again, same kind of thing, right? Where's your 2? Right? You got a lousy 2, but you can kind of see the 4 here, so you're kind of stuck with this labeling here. You're kind of stuck going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all right. So now bring me down for the 2, and I'm on board. Right, I like it. I see I broke here, so we broke that sell side, so we can even take that out. Okay, so here, bring it down a little bit lower, just a little bit. I put a sliding parallel on there so you can maintain the geometry, because this obviously was important to the market. Now we're a little bit lower. That looks interesting to me. Even here, just playing off of this. Oh, let's see. Bring the RSI down a little bit here. This is just, it's an RSI. It's just a different way to look at it. But you'd want to see that get on the other side of, that's plus minus 10. You want to see that start to kick up here. Now we got trend. Here we got volume reduction here, RSI. It pinged, it hit 50. See how 50 becomes support and resistance? That's the most misunderstood component of the RSI, right? Ping, 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 trend. Up, can't get through it, back to the bottom. Can't get through it, back to the bottom. Now I go straight all the way up, right? So there's the push. Now here's the divergence. Right, here's the new high that's not matched by the RSI. 50, ping, I can't go up, right? That's the tell, right? If you like short selling, that's one of the tells you're looking for. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss the divergence here, right? Look at this one. All right, same thing here. Big volume spike on the sell-off now. Right, you'd want to see this come down here, but until the green gets above the plus 10, I mean, same thing, right? We come down here, we get below 30 and start to turn around. You'll get one of these. You'll get that little green line here as it kicks back up. All right, now does it have the energy to go to make the full loop, right? Full loop or not? We shall see. All right, so there's 2 to play with here. Now with that, I'll wrap up here. There's just not much else to say about Bitcoin. And just a reminder here, those live streams running Monday and Tuesday, all alts on Monday. Traditional assets on Tuesdays. The turnout's been pretty good, right? People seem to be liking it, so we're going to stick with that. Here's even a different account. But we'll just let this resolve here. I think my hope is by next week we're going to have some sense of whether or not we're going to stay with that triangle. We're going to get one side here to kick to where we can start to reduce some of the possibilities of what it actually is. All right, with that, guys, I wish you guys a good weekend, and we'll hope to see some of you guys. And members, I hope to see some of you. But any of you subs that are interested, catch us on Monday for a look at. We'll look at all the alts that we can manage in 2 hours. Okay, guys, have a good week.